Hello there, world tankers. Welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the T28 Defender. And in this video, I'm going to be mostly comparing it to the IS-3 Defender on how they stack up, and if this tank is worth the 15,000 gold price tag stuck on it. Now, the IS-3 Defender video I made yesterday, I talked about the tank, and I pretty much came up with the verdict that it wasn't worth the price tag just because I feel it was left behind in the game, and its armor wasn't that spectacular anymore, and the gun was just completely atrocious. So hopefully the T28 Defender does have those characteristics that the IS-3 Defender lacked, and happily I really have to say that I think it makes up in all the areas that the IS-3 Defender has its flaws. Now, you can see the T28 Defender is a very, very slow tank, and that is one of the downfalls of it. But to be honest, I think that is one of the only downfalls of the tank, because every other characteristic of it is better than the IS-3 Defender in every single way. For example, it takes 6.7 seconds for it to shoot each shell in the clip-off, compared to it takes the IS-3 Defender 7.5. Not to mention the aiming time is way better on the T28 Defender, as well as the dispersion. And as most of you know, yesterday, the main reason I really just don't like the IS-3 Defender is because I feel its aiming time is so awful. You bounce, 1/3 of every shell you shoot in. And to be honest, I feel that you can probably penetrate 75% of your shots in this tank compared to where you can only penetrate, 60-50% of the shots fired in the IS-3 Defender. And you're going to see how well this tank really does in public matches. And you're going to see me fight this IS-3 Defender right here. You can see the issue with the IS-3 Defender, in my opinion, in the current state of the game, is you can see just how weak that front armor is. I was using standard AP with 220 millimeters of penetration. That literally can easily go right through the front of that IS-3 Defender, no challenge whatsoever. And you can see that IS-3 Defender is taking some time to aim at me and penetrate his shells, because the T28 Defender actually has very good armor, and I'll definitely get into that in just a little bit. You can see there, we managed to ricochet the IS-3 Defender. And the reason I do like the T28 Defender's armor profile better than the IS-3 Defender's is, first of all, it's thicker in the front, but also it's because it's a flat plate, compared to how the IS-3 Defender has the pike's nose design, which means that when you pull around the corner with it, what happens is that front armor panel is facing towards the corner you're pulling around. So, relatively, it's making that armor a lot thicker. I mean, a lot less thick, should I say, compared to when I'm running the T28 Defender and I pull around a corner like this. You can see that I'm making it so that that front plate is the only thing sticking out, and that front plate's probably sitting at around, I'd say, 260-70 millimeters thick, which makes it just such a hard target to try and penetrate. And not to mention, the T28 Defender can reload its clip, the entire clip, way quicker than the IS-3 Defender, 3 seconds quicker in exact, which really gives it a lot more damage per minute. I think about 400 more damage per minute the T28 Defender gets. And to be honest, it's not a bad tank at all. Now, one of the downsides of this tank is that it really doesn't have a fully traversable turret, and most of you might not know this, but it goes 75 degrees each way, which means that if you get a medium or a light or anything mobile behind you, you are dead. There is absolutely nothing you can do about it. Because unlike a tank with a turret, or even a tank destroyer without a turret, what happens is, because you can't turn your turret all the way, if the enemy tank just goes to the other side of your tank, you have to turn your turret all the way to the other side, and then they can just go back to the other side, and you have to turn the turret all the way back. So that is one of the main issues with this tank, is you can easily get flanked, so you have to be very alert at all times. But let's definitely take a look at that armor, just to show you how strong it really is. Now, when talking about the armor of this tank, you can see that the front of it is very, very thick. The upper plate of it being around 220, 230 millimeters thick. That is a very hard shot to penetrate at a tier 8 tank without loading 8 PCR rounds. And you may think, well, the lower plate could be an easier penetration, but it's not. It's actually sitting at more, 250 millimeters thick, which means that the lower plate is one of the hardest lower plates to penetrate in the game. So if you are going up against this tank, make sure not to shoot at the lower plate of it. Now, the sides of the tank are a huge weak spot, only around 75 millimeters thick. However, thankfully, they are buffed over the normal T28 prototypes. I think it's only 50 on the side, so it is way better than the normal T28 prototype. And because it's not 50 on the side and it's 75, it means that this tank is way, way better at side scraping. Because now you're able to ricochet a lot higher caliber shells because they're not going to be able to penetrate and overmatch your weak sides. Now the rear of this tank, well, that is still the same as the T28 prototype, only 50 on the rear, but to be honest, if somebody gets to your rear, you're not going to be able to do anything about it in the first place, so that is not really going to matter at all. Now the last thing I wasn't talking about until I could elaborate on it is the turret armor, because the turret has huge weak spots, which are the cheeks, and that's the same as the T28 prototype. And the cheeks are only sitting at around 200 millimeters at thickest. So what you want to be able to do to ricochet shells really effectively with the cheeks, and this works actually really well with this tank, and it tricks enemies, is they think, well, if I can shoot through the cheek easily because my tank has enough penetration, I will easily just slam the shell right in the cheek. However, if you're smart, all you need to do is wiggle your turret back and forth when they're aiming at your cheek, and what that does is it makes it very hard to get an accurate shot into the turret's cheeks. You know, you might hit the gun mantlet, you might have the armored part because the turret's aimed at you, so you can easily just aim the tank's turret back and forth, and it's going to make that armor very, very thick and non-very thick, so it's going to be a very hard shot to penetrate. And another thing I didn't say that the IS-3 Defender has that is way worse than the T28 Defender is the gun depression. Now, the IS-3 Defender's gun depression is not bad. The T28 Defender's gun depression is excellent. It's 10 degrees, which is the best gun depression you really want to get on any tank. And because it has such excellent gun depression, you can really use that on ridge lines, and you can use it to be very flexible in pretty much any situation you get stuck in. Because that means when you're going up against a tank like an Object 252U, you can aim right down at his lower plate and slam shell after shell into it. So it's definitely a much, much better advantage over the IS-3 Defender because you have gun depression. And you can see, again, the gun is pretty accurate. I'm just waiting for that aimer to go in. Boom. First shell flies right into that Object 252U's lower plate. Again, I'm going to wait those 6.6 seconds, fire the second shell right through him, goes perfectly where I want it to be, and the IS-3 Defender would never, ever be able to have that happen. So really, I think that this gun is 5 times more accurate than the IS-3 Defender, and it really makes you satisfied that you don't have to worry about 80% of your shells missing, bouncing, or just giving you the worst luck you've ever had. So, to be honest, I think this is just so much of a better choice over the IS-3 Defender. I really can't think of anything that makes it worse, other than the turret is only, semi-traversable, and that the tank is a little bit slower. The power-to-weight ratio is quite atrocious on it, but once you can get it in a straight line, it does go 30 kilometers per hour, which is 10 faster than the normal T28 prototype. And to be honest, when the normal prototype was in the game, that was one of my all-time favorite tier 8s because it just has a mean, nasty gun. And when they released, they were giving a T28 Defender into the game. I was so excited for it. I picked it up immediately. And I'm not mad at all about the tank. I really think it is one of the funnest tanks to run the game. It's very unique because it does have that auto-loader aspect to it. It's got very good armor, and you really can brawl it right up in the front line with the heavies. And because of that, I really think it's an excellent candidate for one of the, better tanks at tier 8. Now, is it overpowered? I wouldn't put it as overpowered, but I would pretty much put it breaking the line at fair. I wouldn't say that you could carry every game in it, but if you ran a platoon of these, I would say it's overpowered and broken. You could easily push them together, bounce 50% of the shots fired at you, clearing the enemy easily. So, my verdict on is this tank worth 15,000 gold? You know what? I say it's a 50-50. I'm not going to say I'm pressuring you guys to buy this tank because I think it's so excellent and worth it, but I'm also going to say that I wouldn't say not to buy it because it is a really, really good tank. It's fun to drive, and you really won't get bored of it. You can see here 4,600 damage. I managed to pick up a mastery, earns very, very good credits, 113,000. So for once, I'm actually leaving one of my videos on a high note, which is usually rare for me. So I hope you guys really did enjoy this video. Please make sure to hit that like button down below. And if you didn't like it, make sure to hit that downvote button as well. Please let me know why you didn't like it. And other than that, guys, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.